Pulling the Trigger is sponsored by Easy Vape North Shore, the industry's leading direct retailer of the highest quality personal vaporizers, e-cigs, vapes, and Canadian-made e-juice. Located at 987 Marine Drive in North Vancouver, or you can check them out online at www.easyvapecanada.com. You can also donate to our Patreon account. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it easy for artists and creators to connect with their fans and get paid. That's at www.patreon.com/MarkHughesComic. And please like our Facebook page at facebook.com/PTG604. Welcome to Pulling the Trigger. I am Mark Hughes, and this is my podcast. And once again, expertly and wonderfully, generously produced, edited, published, posted, and pioneered, I don't know if that's the right word or not, by Taylor Murray. You can check out his podcast at The Taylor Murray Show. And Pulling the Trigger is sponsored by our friends at Jackal Events. Jackal Events is a Vancouver-based event organization company specializing in political events and comedy shows. They have an upcoming event, March 31st, Danny Polishuk live in Vancouver. That's at the Rickshaw Theatre, 254 East Hastings, and you can purchase tickets at picatic.com, www.picatic.com. I will actually be opening up for Danny on that show. I'm in Toronto right now. The date is February 6th, and I actually got to interview Danny, and I'll be releasing that episode later. And so it was nice to be able to connect with him before we actually did the show. And talk about stuff. Danny is a guy who had some controversy about a show he put on here in Toronto called the Free Speech, or No Fascist Show, that got shut down. It got cancelled because some protesters possibly vandalized the venue, the comedy bar here in Toronto. But that's Danny, and we'll get to him in a different episode. So here I am in Toronto, just doing open mics and stuff, having a good time. The city's big, way bigger than Vancouver. Holy crap, I didn't know it's also the 4th largest city in North America. Who would have thought it? Toronto, the city that everyone shits on in Vancouver. It's, I don't know, man, I think it's pretty good. Like, funny thing is, though, I'm in the Chinatown right now, and I see more Chinese people in an average day in Vancouver than I do in the Chinatown in Toronto. It's hilarious. Toronto is definitely a way more diverse city. Like, you see all kinds of different ethnicities and cultures here, and you can see it in a few different blocks. There's Caribbean people, there's Jamaicans, Trinidadians. Trinis is the word, apparently, that you call them. It's Koreans, Asians, Indians, Aboriginals, white, so many Jewish people. Hardly ever see Jewish people in Vancouver. There's not very many. Black people and Jewish people, not many of those in Vancouver. And you know what? As I've been saying in some of my previous episodes, I'm thinking on moving out here. After this trip, it's pretty firm that I'm going to. I really like it here. It's cold. It's cold as fuck, but I think I can handle it. I could see myself at least temporarily relocating here. It seems that there's more comedy here. I'm not saying this is necessarily a better scene overall than Vancouver, but I think I would fit in more out here. I just like the grit. I like the concrete. I like the hustle and bustle. I ordered new recording equipment, so the sound quality should go up. One of my reviewers, Speedy Muffleman on iTunes, reviewed my show. And hey man, if you want to get a hold of me, you made an offer in your review, you can contact me on my website. There's a email there, and hey, I'll gladly take you up on that offer. I have a Patreon account now too. Patreon is the best way to describe it is it's a page where you can go and donate money to artists that you like. If you like what I'm doing, like I'm an independent artist, so this actually ends up costing me money. I don't always get paid for a lot of this stuff. I do it because I like it. So my stand up and my storytelling, etc., etc. But if you want to donate, you can go to patreon.com/Mark Hughes Comic, and then you can, become a patron, as they say. It looks like it's pretty easy to do. I've never actually done it myself yet, but the site's pretty easy to use. So yeah, go ahead, but don't if you don't want to. It's just a thing that a lot of people are using now, and hey man, if you do, I appreciate it, and you'll definitely be remembered. I'll write a dick joke for you. So having said all that, that's what's new and exciting. I miss my ferrets. I don't like being away from them like this. I'm a fretting ferret father, and that sounded stupid, but here I am nonetheless. I appreciate my friend Nicole helping me out with them. She's having a good time. I'm getting lots of ferret videos, but I really would like to see them. And I'll be back on Thursday, February 8th. I'm doing a show next week. I'm doing a bunch of shows. I'm going to be in Calgary 18th to the 25th too, working on some stuff there. That'll be fun. In between now and then, just jokes and open mics. Comedy Shocker, April 7th, 2018 in Vancouver. Comedy Shocker Edmonton, April 4th, 2018 at the Comic Strip. Go have a look at both of those. Comic Strip has tickets if you're interested. Edmonton. So our guest today is Louis Jung, the founder of the UBC Free Speech Discussions Club. It was a Facebook group that got tired of the polarization and echo chambers, as it were, of people, of students that students developed inadvertently on university campuses. He describes it better than me. And he decided to start a group on Facebook, and they also met in real life and put on events and stuff, where people can talk more freely and talk about controversial things, and even come to two different sides of an argument can even controversial things like immigration or trans issues and stuff like that, where people can have a hard discussion about it and maybe see where the other person is coming from without being shut down for being called transphobic or racist or anything like that, and just that's it, no more discussion, and you're not allowed to say anything. And if you bring up this subject, even if it might have some scientific validity, no, we're not allowed to talk about it because it's not politically correct or it doesn't fit a certain narrative. He is a Korean bisexual man who is engaged to a transgendered woman. So he's not a white nationalist. Free speech is not always about white nationalism or just wanting to say bad words and get away with it. There's people on the left who support free speech too. I obviously, as many people would realize, I'm a proponent of freedom of expression because of doing comedy, and I can see comedy being affected by it, mainly by comics, actually. And I think it's because comics are scared of potential reactions from audiences. It's too bad, because I find audiences, by and large, some people get offended sometimes, but most people who go to comedy, like the most average shows, it's just, they just want to hear jokes. If the joke's not funny and it's offensive, the audience won't laugh. And then there's some people who really like quote unquote offensive comedy. And there's different discussions on, does comedy affect the psychology of a culture, and will it influence people to go out and commit crimes or violence or rape or be racist or be homophobic? I don't know. I don't give it that much credit personally. Especially when all this stuff is fomenting in the public, it's hard not to have jokes about it. And they don't always need to be jokes that are truth to power punching up. It can just be talking about, like, sometimes a comic says something that's harsh just because it's like they're still educating themselves on it. They're not used to it. It's an alien subject, and it's being pushed in their face all the time. Anyway, those are all my justifications, and I could be rationalizing like a motherfucker. So, and maybe I'm just a hateful bigot. Who knows? But why don't we meet our guest? Introducing Louis Jung.
Smash things, break things, shovel things. Basically, we go into a house, and it's actually pretty awesome. The process is amazing. So we go into a house that everyone moved out. Okay. And they leave a bunch of shit. Right. They leave a bunch of shit behind, and we loot it for metals.
Oh, wow. Like copper?
Coppers, aluminum, steel, whatever we can find.
Right.
We haul it into trailers so we can sell it.
Right.
And then we use that money, that whatever we looted, for booze.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we just sell all this shit, buy a fuck ton of booze. Yeah. And that's what we're gonna drink throughout the demolition process.
Right.
So.
And you get paid to do this as well. So this is your paid job, hourly wages.
Yes. So I get paid by the hour to loot the place. So my boss can buy us beer. He's really cool, by the way. My boss is awesome.
My listeners are going to be like, where do you get this job?
No, demolition jobs are always open. We're always looking for new workers. It's just really hard because we need young, able-bodied men. But all these young, able-bodied men want to be graphic designers and shit. Right. So, because
it's hard work.
It is hard
dirty
work.
And shit, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, the dirtiness and the body pains, it's only bad for like the first month. But after the first month, you just get used to it. And you're just okay with your body aching all the time and covered in cuts and bruises and whatnot. And covered in possibly toxic dusts that were used in building materials from the 1950s. Because that's a lot of houses that we demolished. In the end, you don't give a shit. Yeah. So if there are any young listeners out there who have the physical prowess to demolish a house, you should go look for a demolition job.
I agree. I think one of the things I've noticed in the last number of years is that people seem like, I know lots of people who do construction or labor jobs, tons, but it's almost like half of the people are willing to do those, and then the other half are not willing to do them. Right?
Like
it's strange.
Oh, they don't like their job?
No, sorry. It's more like half of the people who do construction, they're totally fine with it. But it's like it almost seems like of the people I know, it's right down the middle, and then the other half won't, like, no, I won't do a labor job. It's like you said, graphic design or something, something with an office or something like that. And funny enough, most of the people I know who are do some kind of physical labor make more money.
Oh yeah, like I make decent money from my job, so that's why I like it. And another thing is that I get to hang out with bros all day. So and I feel like the blue collar jobs are the last bastion of where men can be men. Like, we call each other fags, we punch each other, we call each other all kinds of names. We're never politically correct. And I don't know what other jobs are out there that I can do it in. So, I love it.
Which is a perfect segue to introduce my guest. Today we are joined by Louis Jung. How do you pronounce it? Is it Jung or
Yes, Jung.
Jung, okay. And he is... Why don't you tell, what do you do? Who, other than smash houses up for money and call your coworkers faggots?
Well, I am the founder of the UBC Free Speech Club in UBC, British Columbia, Vancouver.
Okay.
And Vancouver, British Columbia. And now, I think we might be the biggest club on campus now. Yeah, wow. I think we reached that point.
Wow. Okay. So what's a free speech club?
So basically, what I've noticed is that a lot of people are scared because what they believe is taboo. And I wanted to create a platform where it's okay to speak out taboos. It's okay to speak your mind. And even if you're wrong, like, let's find out. Or maybe you're right and we should change what is taboo and what's not. And the club was fairly successful at it because we created a Facebook discussion group where the culture became we can say whatever the fuck we want. And even no matter how crazy our beliefs are, we can still talk about it and analyze it and see if it's right or wrong, right? Instead of, because I think what happens to a lot of people with crazy beliefs is that if they hold it on to themselves so long, they kind of become religious to it. And that's not good. Because if you become religious to one of your beliefs that you believe by yourself, it drives you insane.
Well, it becomes dogma.
It becomes dogma, and it can possibly turn into school shooter level dogma.
Radicalized.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, all right. One thing I want to know how you got into this, but just for this, because I have all kinds of listeners, all kinds, every spectrum, every walk of life, but a lot of them are somewhat average people. Who wouldn't understand what do you mean free speech? Don't we live in a democracy? Of course there's free speech.
We do.
What do you mean by what would be some examples of a taboo subject that's hard to talk about?
So one of the things that is hard to talk about is, well, let's say the idea of race and IQ, right? Okay. So different races or different ethnicities or different nationalities, whatever you want to call it, people from different geographical areas test in different when they get tested, they seem to have an average IQ that is different enough that it's significant. And of course there's merit to that argument, and a lot of people are afraid of speaking out on it, and I think it is a topic that is worth discussing, and it has been discussed in our club discussion page, and we're kind of over it, and so mission accomplished, I guess. But
you were able to have the discussion.
Yes, we were able to have the discussion. That was the point.
Rather than, what are the usual consequences? I'm asking questions that I know the answers to, but it's for my listeners.
Well, one guy who was really into the race and IQ things, and he kind of like bubbled himself up so long that when he joined our club, he came out with all kinds of racist shit. And I thought, like, man, this guy's kind of fucked in the head. But and he would say, like, oh, we should kind of like kill off the bottom something percentage of IQs, and
which would have been certain races,
which would be
a higher number of certain races.
And he said shit like, you know what, if we just kill a specific race, then the world would be a lot smarter. And and now what he believes, after like multiple discussion and a lot of debate and a lot of pushback, pull, and all that, his conclusion changed to, you know, the IQ difference within the in-groups are bigger than the difference between the difference of IQ between the races. So now he sees which kind of like removes the whole race.
For example, the differences in IQ in a black population is bigger than the difference between IQ in the black population compared to the white population or Caucasian.
So like if you examine just the black population, and let's say the black population's IQ is average about 90, let's say, and whites are 100. The difference is only 10. But within the black population, you'll have IQs ranging from 60 to 150, right? Which is a difference of 90. So 90 points of IQ. So you're not going to make the world smarter just by removing a race. Right?
And through open discussions, the guy actually conceded.
Yes, the guy actually...
He changed his mind.
Yes, the guy actually became not racist about races and IQ.
What a faggot.
I know. Oh, you're backing down now, huh?
So...
Where's your Zyklone B, faggot? Huh?
So, all right, so you started So, how old are you?
I'm 24.
24, and are you a UBC student now?
Well, I'm on a break right now. Yeah, so I still help out in the running of the club, but right now I'm working.
So, all right. How did this come about? Like, so you're at UBC, and something came about to make you believe that you needed to, or to motivate you or mobilize you to start this club. Tell me about that.
Yes. So it was when Trump announced his presidency and he was running, right?
Is that 2015?
Something like that.
The end of 2015.
The end of 2015 is 2016-ish. I don't quite recall that well now. But of course, everyone has their own opinions on Trump. But in university, you can't say a single good thing about him. You're not allowed to, right? Or else people will ostracize you pretty hard. And for me, I don't care either way. I'm
the same. I don't give a shit one way or the other.
Yeah, but I've noticed that because Trump supporters they're so silenced at least in my university, they kind of like kept to themselves. And I love socializing. I love meeting all these people and all these different Trump supporters in campus. They only have one friend who's a fellow Trump supporter, and they kind of like feed off each other.
Turns into a little mini echo chamber, right?
Yeah, tiny little echo chambers. And what I did was that I kind of united them together, and they felt so free. They felt so relieved that they're not the crazy ones, and I thought, this is great. We're getting taboo subjects being openly talked about, and this year the taboo subject is Trump. And so what I did was that I borrowed $1,000. I bought a bunch of red hats, and I printed "Make Canada Great Again," and I got all these different people, like not even Trump supporters, people who actually get that. In university you have to shut up about a lot of topics. We all came together and wore the "Make Canada Great Again" hats. It's not "Make America Great Again." We're not supporting Trump.
There was purposely one word changed just to, and I think I know where you're going, but
no, it was the thing is, the red hat with "Make America Great Again" is so visible from afar. It's so recognizable that I wanted people to see from afar and get shocked by it. But once they approach us, once they have the curiosity to approach us and actually talk to us, they'll be like, "Oh, it's Make Canada Great Again hat. You're just trying to piss us off." And then now we say, "Wait, why are you pissed off? Like, why do you want us to shut up?"
So it's a social experiment.
Yeah, it's kind of like a social experiment. And we got a lot of heat for that. And they couldn't quite pin us down as Trump supporters, but they eventually did. Doesn't matter. But that all publicity is good publicity, I believe. And our club grew like crazy because of all the bad press.
The people hiding in the woodwork came out, right?
Yeah, they all came out.
Finally, a place I can speak openly. My people, right?
Yeah. And these people are like people who, we got bored of Trump after he won really quickly.
Fuck, it's the most boring subject in the world now.
I know.
I hate it when people want to talk about it.
It's
Either
so
way, hate or love.
It's so boring. It's so boring. And then we got bored of it too, right? And now like very few of us actually support Trump.
Yeah.
It's because it's just like, it was fun in the moment because he kind of represented the rebel.
He was a big
cause.
troll. That's what I thought. I kind of admired that.
Exactly.
Look how butthurt people get, right?
But then one of his appeal was being the underdog. And then now that he won, he kind of lost that underdog appeal, which is kind of something that a lot of UBC Free Speech Club members feel like they are. They feel like the underdogs because they've kept their crazy ideas to themselves for so long. So they kind of relate to Trump. But now that he won, it's kind of like, oh, you're part of the mainstream now. You're kind of lame.
Well, also, like, again, I don't give a shit one way or the other. The thing I don't like, this is about as most as I'm going to talk about Trump, because I have Trump supporter friends, I'll argue with them, and I have anti-Trump friends, and I'll argue with them, right? It's just, the thing I hate most about it is the media is just Trump, because they're trying to make money off of us, right? I'm not participating. I don't give a fuck. And I'm ashamed that we even talked about it this long. One of the things, though, that immediately occurred to me, though, is, and I was going to wait till later to bring it up, but fuck it, whatever, is, okay, what I've noticed watching social media is that as soon as anyone these days mentions free speech, people go, alt-right, you're a Nazi if you even talk about needing free speech. And also to tie that into people feeling like the underdogs. Yeah. Typical straight cis white males.
Right.
You are an Asian. Yes. Korean. You're Korean, right? Korean. And you're bisexual?
Yes.
You're dating a transgendered woman.
Engaged to.
You're engaged to a transgendered woman.
Yes.
You're gonna have to clear that up for some of us because you're not a redneck from Alabama who has yachts and penthouses and.
Here's the thing. When I was a kid, I went to Catholic school, and I was like, "This is it. I'm gonna be an atheist, and I'm gonna talk about atheism all the time because I was the only atheist." But then I converted some people here and there, and then I had a little atheist group of friends going, and I was like, atheism is lame now. So like I've always looked for a way to rebel against the people immediately around me. So not the world, just like people that I meet every day. I just kind of want to piss them off a little bit, and that's kind of like what the Free Speech Club is about. And wait, why am I talking about this? You're talking about
I
clearing
said
up.
You don't fit the typical profile of someone who people associate with free speech activists.
Yes. So I'm typically not the stereotype or what the leftist media like to portray as a free speech activist. Because, well, I'm fighting for free speech because it's what the underdog needs the most, and I always try to put myself in that place, in a place where I'm fighting the people around me. It's kind of pathological, to be honest.
I get it.
It's just so fucking fun. It's I don't see any other way to live my life.
Hey man, we all need hobbies, right?
Yeah, we all need hobbies, exactly.
So, okay, I'll ask you point blank then. Are you an alt-right guy?
No, God, no.
I don't. God, no. And that's...
The alt-right is so lame now.
They're like social justice warriors. They're the exact... Yes. It goes full circle and it becomes equally as lame.
Have you seen the alt-right's reaction to Ocean 8, the movie coming out?
I just saw something yesterday. So, what Ocean 8, what is it?
Ocean 8 is basically a spin-off of Ocean 11. And instead of an all-male cast, it's an all-female cast.
Okay, I see where this is...
Yeah. Yes, and I saw the trailer, and it looks great, and I'm actually really excited to see it. And I thought, oh man, this movie's going to be great.
Sandra Bullock's in it, right?
Sandra Bullock's in it. Even my favorite rapper, one of my favorite rapper, Aquafina's in it. And I thought, like, man, what a great cast. These are all talented people, and I'm excited to see it. And it's about heists, so fuck, let's fucking watch it. And me and my girlfriend we're like waiting for this movie to come out, and the alt-right's reaction was, an all-female cast, blah 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 blah. Oh wow, you're gonna fail. Ooh, why don't you make your own movie without having a spin-off with all-female cast? And I'm thinking like, oh my god, the alt-right has become the SJWs that they were fighting all this time. And I saw this full circle coming from the beginning when I started this. I knew this was coming because it was in the beginning, the censorship, the people the earliest censory people that I can remember were Christians who were trying to censor comic books, right?
And it was based on like sexual morality and things
sexual morality. Yeah. They're thinking, we're teaching children to be violent. Oh, this is gonna raise crime rates, and it's gonna be
prudes, basically.
Yeah, basically
right?
Prudes.
Yeah.
And then after they kind of lost out, after they became so lame that nobody wanted to hear them anymore, they kind of shut up because they realized, our nagging doesn't work anymore. And then the left picked up their nagging, and they became the naggers. And now that people don't listen to them anymore because Trump won, nobody really cares, and then the left realized that. Have you noticed that the nagging went down from the left?
Yes, one of the things I've noticed is I don't get people getting offended on my Facebook as much anymore. Yeah. I mean, that's hard. Maybe it's because I'm not saying things. I don't know, but right. I remember it used to be that people I couldn't post anything really that had any kind of bite to it without. Yeah. What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah. You're in getting lectures and attacked, and that doesn't really happen much. No, and I have 5,000 Facebook friends. Like I have a lot of friends, so you'd think it would come up more often, right?
It's just that the culture, the leftist culture of nagging has gone away, just like the comic book people. And guess whose turn it is?
Right.
The right. Yeah. And oh my god, I'm actually gearing up to piss off the right wingers as much as possible for next year. I'm gonna give them.
Is social justice going to be the new punk rock?
Yes, I am.
Man, do I have to identify as non-binary?
No, you just gotta dye your hair purple. It's fine.
Do I have to take a gender studies course?
No, you can just dye your hair purple. Right, it's pretty easy. Sweet. It's very low rent. It's very
low
rent.
buy-in, eh?
Yeah. It's not. Don't worry about it.
So, the alt-right has now become the monster they were fighting.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The alt-right. And if you look at my girlfriend has been following the right-wing movement very carefully, studying it as almost like a pathology, because it's becoming one. And
just like the radical left.
Just like the radical left. And I believe that the left will be the sane ones in the future. I believe so.
You know what? I guess if I had to identify on which end of the political spectrum I'm on, which I don't.
Yeah.
I hate it because I'm more of an issue by issue guy. But if I had to, I'm probably more left wing than I am right wing. Right? I think most decent. I hate to say it because it's moralistic, but most reasonable people, even if they're conservative, don't really have anything against gay people. They don't want to see them locked up or tortured or anything like that. Right?
When it comes to like let's say the right is offering, we'll kill all the gays, but we will tax you less.
Right.
Or we'll tax the fuck out of you, but we won't kill the gay people. I would live in the society that doesn't kill the gay people.
And I think most people would.
Yeah.
Too. And I think that's so when I think about my own political inclinations, I would probably say I'm more left. So when you saying that the left will probably end up being the more reasonable ones, I've never thought about that, but it makes sense.
But then, of course, temporarily until they win, and then the cycle
again.
Yes,
I guess it's always in a flux.
Yes,
right?
And the UBC Free Speech Club will, I've noticed that all the alt-right people have been leaving my club in droves. Yeah,
because you had Holocaust deniers on that group, real ones, not just saying it for a joke, right?
Exactly, because what I've noticed is that, you only want free speech only when you need it, right? So they were there, I'm here for the Free Speech Club because I need free speech right now. So they're not actually a free speech club, a free speech activist. They're just I need that protection. And now that they feel I already found a circle of friends. I've discovered this wonderful thing called, what's that Nazi site?
Stormfront.
Oh yeah, so I found Stormfront. I don't need you guys anymore. And they kind of left.
Go off to their own little echo chamber.
Yeah. They found I found an echo chamber without hookers but with whiskey.
And I can say faggot, and we need to hang all the black people. No one will ever say anything again.
Yeah,
no one will ever disagree with
No one will challenge you. That's the thing. In the UBC Free Speech Club, if you put out your idea, everyone's going to jump into
because you have lots of very liberal people on that group. You have social justice warriors in that group too.
Not only social justice warrior people, but then people who kind of made up their own minds that they kind of no longer fit a party nor a specific ideology. So everyone's fighting all the time because they're not you consider yourself a liberal and you're saying this, you're a traitor. No, there's nothing like that. There's always what do you think? What do you think?
And you even have feminists in that group too, right?
Feminists, non-feminists, anti-feminist people who don't give a shit about feminism.
Right.
And all kinds of people.
One of the things I like about being a member of that group on Facebook is if I ever need an actual opinion about, or no, not opinion, let's say for example I want to know something about Trump, just to use an easy topic. No, here's one. I'll use a better one. It's a group called Sons of Odin, or Soldiers of Odin. Which one is it? Sons?
Soldiers of Odin.
Okay, so everyone that I would see posting about them was saying they're racist, they're a white nationalist group. And then I'd see small little things, comments, but they're actually not a white nationalist group, but just not very much.
Right.
So I went, So I posted on your group, can anyone tell me what they actually are? Are they racist or not? And I got valid answers. Some people, they said, well, this is the consensus answer, basically. I'm putting a bunch of answers into one. It was they're not exactly, they're not like Nazis, but they're not exactly not racist either. And I was okay, that makes sense.
Right.
They're not fighting for a white ethno state.
Right.
They're anti-immigration. But so anti-immigration that it does end up being racist.
Actually, I wouldn't put Soldiers Voting in a box where every member kind of follows that box, because Soldiers Voting is quite decentralized. So kind of like Antifa. Antifa's decentralized, so you can't really group Antifa together to one thing. Antifa in Sweden, they're anti-immigration actually.
That's funny.
Yeah, the Antifa. Because there are a lot of rape gangs who are a lot of immigrants, and feminism hates rape, and they kind of took that mission.
Unless it's in the bedroom, hey-o.
Yes, consensual rape.
And you've discussed
you have to sign the paper and whatnot, give it to a notary, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
5 to 7 business days, and anyways. But then here's the thing: the right and the left, it's looking like we're going to have 4 major political ideologies fighting, the upcoming years, because the left is splintering and the right is splintering. The right is kind of splintering between authoritarians and the libertarians. So kind of like the alt-right is becoming more and more authoritarian because they're kind of like grouping together even more. And the libertarians are, kind of like, yeah, we're down with low taxes, we're down with low regulations, but can we not kill the gays? And so
they're like social justice warriors, conservatives.
Yes,
they're like lefty conservatives, basically.
Basically, yeah, like lefty, kind of like Canadian conservatives who don't really hate the gays. They have no problems, but they just want lower taxes. So it's kind of splitting between those. It's kind of splitting between the two, and the left is also splitting between the new wave of left, who's coming out, and they're trying to make their case without being dogmatic. And a good leader in that front is ContraPoints. She's incredible.
And she's a left wing.
She's completely left wing,
like feminist and all that
everything,
stuff.
everything. But she is reasonable, and she makes YouTube videos where she explains it, and her YouTube videos are very well made. And she's very articulate. She is a PhD dropout. She has a master's in philosophy, and master's in philosophy is very hard to get. And so that's a new wave of coming, and of course the ugly left is becoming uglier and uglier, but they're kind of receding because they realize they're no longer dominant.
I know lots of people who 2 years ago or a year ago would have been, if I'd called them a social justice warrior, they would have been offended first, and then been like, yeah, because it's a war and I'm a warrior.
Yeah.
Who no longer want to be associated with that group of people.
Yes, exactly.
And it usually boils down to one day they said the wrong thing.
Yes.
Something that could easily, if they didn't use it, could be just a small thing, and then all of a sudden, they're out.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what the right is also becoming, because I've realized that I'm getting unfriended left and right by right-wingers. Because they kind of realize that, oh, you're not one of us anymore. Like, you're like, my friendship with them was only contingent on agreeing with whatever the fuck they say. And that's kind of what we didn't like about the dominant left culture a few years ago.
So, like you said, it's becoming they're becoming the monsters.
It's so tragic, because I'm not surprised, but I'm still disappointed, right? Because I used to hang out with them, I used to have beers with them, and we used to joke around and say all kinds of crazy shit because we finally feel like we can. I was wrong about them. They kind of all fucked off and unfriended me.
And it turns out you can't just say whatever. No. It's only if they agree. Wow.
Exactly.
So one of the things I hear a lot about, like, I've never been to university. I got into your group just by sneaking in or something, right?
And you decided to stay.
Yeah, it's cool, right? I don't get into the discussions very much. Right. I just joke around sometimes and promote my comedy shows. But what I hear a lot of, and you see it in media, like the shit that happened in Evergreen State and all. What are like when it comes to this subject or this topic or this theme where you can't speak opinions or even facts sometimes freely? What is that like in universities now, or at least UBC?
Well, UBC is actually pretty good about it. UBC is we have UBC is making the steps to make sure that students don't get shut down for the shit they say. So UBC is very they have apparently, according, I forget what it's called, but there's this organization that grades universities based on how pro-free speech they are, and UBC got an abysmal score, like a C, which I don't think they deserve that grade. I think they deserve a little bit of a better grade because
Well, they allow you guys to do
Yeah.
your thing, right?
Yeah, they don't. I mean, if they could shut me down, they would. But that's because I didn't register with them. There's the UBC Free Speech Club doesn't exist anywhere legally or on paper, so that's why they can't shut us down. They'll have to kill me, or they kill the execs and whoever the next exec is, right? So maybe that's why I think I would give them a better score, because they haven't shut us down yet. But maybe it's just because they can't. I don't know. I really don't know what the internal fucking whatever shit's going on there.
Well, I guess what I hear about in the media and from other people who attend university is like professors are like removing certain parts of the curriculum because it poses a potentially controversial point of view or discussion.
Of course.
Is that happening a lot in UBC?
I don't know. Well, the removal, that's hard to prove. But what they present is provable. So the fact that they would have they're like feminist geography class. There's feminist whatever. So there's all these classes, all these subjects that are reinterpreted through a lens of an ideology, and they get credits for that. So it's kind of a silencing is that very few, all of the ideologies that are represented are left-wing ideologies, and if there was some kind of balance, that would be great. But I guess that's one form of silencing. Yeah.
Here's something the discussions I get into with some people sometimes when I'm talking about free speech is that first they'll say, well, Canada does have free speech, which I know it doesn't have free speech the way the United States does. We have protected speech, but I'll define that in a minute. But here's what people will often retort with when I mention censorship or anything like that. They will say, only the government can censor. You can't use the term censorship when it's just people, because those are just social consequences for that is free speech. If you say something and 900 people go, that's wrong, or 50 people go, that's wrong, you shouldn't say that, racist or homophobe, that's not censorship, because it's not the government trying to curtail your ability to speak. It's not. There's no legal sanctions for me saying that. Right? What do you think about that?
I agree. But the thing is, if we do have a culture where it's very acceptable for people to gang up and silence someone, that's going to reflect in the law in the future.
Especially if you have university students with that mentality taking law courses. Exactly.
So this is a bit of it's a bit of a prevention game, because once you lose free speech, that's it. Like it makes things infinitely harder.
Well, how do you fight to get it back if you're not allowed to talk?
Exactly. How do you? It's easier to protect it than to try to get it back, right? So we better fight for it right now while we still have it, and we're losing it. Now we have compelled speech through the Bill C-16, where I have to, if I employ someone and I have to compel all of my employees to call this person by their preferred pronouns, which is subjected to change, and if someone doesn't, my ass is on the line. So this
is law now?
Yes, Bill C-16. So I'm pretty sure there's more nuances to it, but then it is compelled speech. So it's scary. It's
I thought the law was so new that they didn't know how to interpret it yet, and that was the problem. No one knows how it can be applied or interpreted.
But then either way, no matter how you interpret it, it always ends up as compelled speech and then to what degree is debated upon. But yeah, it seems like we're losing we might be losing the ground, and now that the right, who the entirety of the right used to be for free speech, and now that it's splintered into people who actually believe in free speech and who don't, I'm actually scared. I'm actually scared now,
because now there's no united front, and it's disorganized and splintered and stuff like that. Yeah, Here's the way I always thought about it. When people use that censorship line, the government censorship line on me, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's a form, that's statutory government or parliamentary justice, but there is mob justice too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, it might not be illegal.
Yeah.
Or the government might not be interfering, but if you have like 900 university students swarm you and maybe even attack you because you said misspoke, that's not free speech either, though. And that's that. But the problem is, it's hard to like. I get all that's available to you is like going to court or whatever, like, and that's the part that, as a comic, that's what I always worry about is, in Canada, although there are some precedents, it still would be pretty difficult for me to be brought up on human rights complaint for a joke, right? The joke would have to be a bunch of factors would have to align that were pretty not likely, right? But okay, here's a perfect example for our listeners. Louis wanted to organize a free speech drag show one time, and I found him a venue. And as soon as some people found out about you guys doing a show there, they complained to the venue.
Oh yeah.
And you hadn't even stepped foot on the premises.
Nope.
Not one drag act had gone on stage. People had no idea what anyone was even going to say.
Oh yeah.
And it was a semi-private party. Like, it was open to the public, but it wasn't really promoted in the newspapers or anything like that, right?
It was just promoted among
a
university
group of people, right?
Yeah.
You're welcome if you show up and know about it, but whatever, right? That potential... Now, the venue in question, Pat's Pub, just said, yeah, well, we don't care, whatever, right? But a lot of venues don't.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as they get a complaint, they shut it down.
Yeah.
And nothing's even happened.
Yeah.
No one said nigger. No one said, let's get rid of the Jews. No one said anything. Nothing has even been said. You're not a known white supremacist group or terrorist group or anything like that. You've never... No one is promoting violence, right?
Yeah.
And people complain and they go, okay, we can't handle this. And I think personally, as it affects my little chunk of the world, that is a form of censorship. That's what I think. It's not direct censorship. It's more of a passive censorship.
But what I'm afraid of, what I don't like about what happened there was that they weren't even going to show up anyways.
They never do. That's the thing.
Like, you guys are not even Pat's Pub's customers.
No.
Like, they probably heard of Pat's Pub for the first time after they heard about the drag show. Like...
And the drag show went down and it was really fun.
Yeah, it was very fun. Yeah. It was very fun.
You were Freeze Peach.
I was Miss Freeze Peach. Oh, it was great. It was fantastic. But we do have some business owners who kind of approach us and ask us, like, we're getting death threats, we're getting boycott threats, and
when you want to put on an event.
No, not on an event, like whatever they said on the side.
Right.
And they're not even right-wingers, right? And because right-wingers know that you can just ignore it. But the people who are not really familiar with this political shit, they kind of get spooked and they kind of find us and say like, hey, what do we do? What do you think we should do? And we always advise them to just ignore it. Because really, they're all barking no bite. So, especially in Vancouver. It's not like in Greece where Antifa will actually show up in your door and like...
Yeah, Antifa doesn't have a very large presence here, does it?
No. Like, the leader of the Antifa here, well, they specifically don't have a leader, but there's always like, always an alpha, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's always an alpha. And the alpha, he's pretty incompetent. There's nothing to be scared of him here.
Do you remember a few months ago when they, at City Hall, they had that thing where the anti-immigration, and it was promoted as a racist white supremacist thing in the media, but it was actually just some people protesting immigration policy or something like that, and like 2,000 people showed up against. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So it was like, it turned out to be like 20 people who were protesting the original protest, and then 2,000 anti-protest, like counter-protesters, right? And what I got thinking about that day is, it's like, okay, like, of course, in Vancouver, even the racists or the anti-immigration people are flaky and can't show up, right? But B, when 2,000 people show up against a certain thing, or in protest of a protest, it just goes to show you that that's the climate here
Uh-huh.
is one. So those 2,000 would be the majority.
Right,
And so what are they worried about?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It was nothing. Like,
Right.
in my opinion, that those 20 people didn't need 2,000 people to tell them. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like, what the fuck, right?
It's, well, here's the thing. Protests, a lot of them are legitimate protests and they have a goal of specific policy they want to change. But most protests are actually just social events. They just come out to hang out. So I wouldn't really take that seriously. So like even if I arrange a protest where I want to change a specific policy and 2,000 people show up, I know they're not going to vote. They're here for fun, right? It's just we give too much credit towards them, so I wouldn't worry about it all too much.
What kind of consequences have you dealt with as a result of doing what you do with the Free Speech Club? Has there been, what kind of repercussions?
It's been mostly good. Let's see.
Anyone threatened you or anything like that?
Oh yeah, but threats are just like they're not going to follow up. So threats are not.
You've gotten legitimate threats.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But like, what are they? None of them followed up. So.
But it's interesting to know for people because you and I both know it's fucking bullshit. Right?
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I do this podcast is for the average person to hear what things are like. Right. So
right.
What have those threats been like? Like what kind of what did they consist of?
Well, the funniest one was go back to China. Go back to China or we'll kill you. It's right. And that one like gave me a good fucking laugh.
Yeah.
Another one is it was like I'll kill you, I'll break your neck, blah blah blah.
And these are from leftist types?
Well, they present themselves as leftists.
Right.
I don't know if
they're fighting for liberal ideology.
Yes. So they're the ugly kind of left. And I'm pretty sure in the future, but they might already be doing it. The right wingers, no, they're already doing it. They're kind of sending out death threats too. So it's just like ugly people with, no matter what their ideology is just ugly, right? So I wouldn't like make this into a leftist phenomenon. It's just
because it's not.
It's just assholes being assholes, and it doesn't matter.
The thing that I always have to remember: the internet's a mind control device, right? It's meant, and what it's getting us to do is be on there all the time, and controversy and outrage keeps you addicted to that, right? Because of the neurochemicals, right? What I have to always keep in mind and remind myself of, I'm totally guilty of it, is these maniacs that I see online going, like you say one thing and they're like racist or you should da-da-da. That's actually a minority of people. It's actually not that many people. They're actually usually people who have way too much time on their hands and like probably you'll never see them in real life, right? Or the other one is you'll see them in real life and they don't act like that in real life.
No.
But they don't actually represent, even the cause that they claim they're representing, they don't actually represent.
Oh yeah, like it's so funny because in my art class, they're all chicks, right? One of them recognized me, and she maintained she was polite to me. She didn't get too friendly with me, but she was good to me, and she wasn't bad to me at all. But there's this UBC Free Feminism group, and she doesn't know that like. I have a lot of moles in there. Like, they're always like...
And they probably have moles in the UBC Free.
Oh, no, we know this. Sometimes these moles even post because they were like, I can't stand this, I have to say something. And they post. And then here's the thing. I don't mind if they have 2,000 moles in our club. I want them to hear us out, right? So moles are good. In fact, if you're so deeply ingrained to a different ideology that you become a mole for that ideology and you become like a pawn to them, maybe being a mole is good for you because you'll actually be exposed to new ideas. So I welcome moles, but they don't. So she posted about me a lot, and it's always like, oh, that he's so rude and he's mansplaining all the time, and she's just looking for different ways to like explain that how unsocial justicey I am, and of course everyone's like, all these fucking guys who are trying to get pussy, on a fucking Facebook on a feminist Facebook page. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I apologize on behalf of all men. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my god, what is this shit show? Like, is the world ending? Is this what is this? Holy shit.
Oh yeah, man. I love that shit. And it's so funny because, again, to reiterate, you're a POC. Fuck, I hate that term. But you're a POC.
Yes. I'm not white.
You're not white.
Yes.
You're sexual. You're bisexual. Engaged to a transgendered woman. Mm-hmm. You suck dick.
I do. I literally suck dick.
You suck tranny dick.
Yes.
And people are calling you a problem.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's fucking hilarious, man. And that's where I see where people are like, their ideology blinds them. Like, it doesn't, like, because according to them, all those criteria I just listed off should make you bulletproof, right?
But here's the thing. I think all this, like, we're standing up for POCs is completely bullshit, because once you step out of their ideological line, you're good as white. Right. And it's the exact same on the alt-right, where they say, oh, we want white nationalism, we want freedom for white people, blah, blah, blah. But then if I'm white and I'm a leftist, they would kill me just the same. So it's all bullshit. It's just bullshit. They just want protection for themselves personally.
It all sounds like very fragile egos.
It is. It's fragile egos. Yeah. Like, if you
very insecure people, that's what it sounds like.
If you want to kill someone who disagrees with you, you gotta do a lot of
You need fucking therapy. Yeah. You don't need a fucking group on Facebook.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Wow. So, I met you at a thing called the Right to Offend.
Yes.
I think it's happening again this year or next year.
No, it's not happening. It's just a one-time thing.
All right. Anyway, for the listeners, it was a symposium, or I don't know what it was, and I just represented the Comedy Shocker there, and I met you there, and I met a few people there. I met your fiance Theron there. You're engaged to Theron, right? Yeah. Okay. And Theron Meyer, if anyone wants to check her out. I met Lauren Southern there.
Yes.
Who's pretty famous for being kind of an outspoken. What do you think of her?
Well, I can't. It seems like she kind of falls into a general category of. It's hard to speak just about her. You have to, but then if you fit her in a general trend, it helps you understand it a little better. And I don't know. It seems like she's on the fence of, like, now that the right is splintering, where should she go? Like, Faith Goldie chose to go full Heil Hitler, and she went full Heil Hitler. That's her choice. Blah blah blah. And Lauren's kind of on the fence. And all these. But then here's the thing. I've been talking to... Do you remember the gamer girl trend?
Yeah.
Where all these girls...
I don't know much about it, but...
Yes, but then these are anecdotes. I don't know any statistics on it. But a lot of these gamer girls that I've met, they always say, yeah, I'm a gamer girl. And they always talk about how much of a gamer girl they are. But if you actually play video games with them, they don't know shit. And they're calling themselves gamer girl because they played 1 or 2 games when they were 11, right? And I think a lot of these, we call them right-wing thoughts. And a lot of these right-wing thoughts are kind of like gamer girls. They're kind of coming into our movement to, well, get worshipped, right?
There's also less women, so there's less competition.
Exactly.
It's like 90% males.
Exactly.
And especially if they're good looking.
Exactly.
Like, they're going to be desired.
Yeah.
Right? I saw that too.
If you're slightly pretty, you can always be a right winger and you'll become a goddess. It's like an easy path.
I see how people, here's what I think of Lauren Southern. might have her as a guest one day. Oh well, whatever. I'll give my opinion anyway. I try not to have opinions about my guests publicly, but whatever. I think she's like a professional troll. What I mean by that is she goes to things and just sort of is disruptive without any real substance behind it. And I think it's mainly just, basically the only person who really benefits is her. Which is fine. Hey, man, however you make your money in this world, provided it's not fucking too horrendous. I don't give a shit, right? But she's not someone I would go to for like, I need to know about this subject. I don't consider her an expert. Just like Milo Yiannopoulos. He's not an expert. He's funny. I think he's hilarious. But he's not a guy I take seriously. I don't take her seriously. I don't take Gavin McInnes seriously. I find them entertaining.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all. That's
so she's more of an entertainer rather than someone who brings
pundit
something.
That's the way I look at her. And I just see sometimes it's with her and Milo and some of these people when they go to some of these things and they're like baiting people into arguments and stuff like that. I'm like, fuck, that's what social justice warriors do, man. Why are you doing that? But then I have to look at it from a business perspective. Her fan base wants to see that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
So what could I say?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So I do think that like her and many people, and Theron used to be one of them, where you become kind of trapped by your audience. And you're so afraid of losing, well, like, let's say you lose 20% of your audience, that's 20% of your revenue gone. And that's a good pay cut.
No, that's serious fucking money now. Now it's not, we're not talking about ideology anymore, we're talking about putting money in the bank. Right?
Yeah, like, after you pay rent, half your money's gone. 20%, that's 40% of your spending money. Like, after you pay the bills, blah, 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 like, that 20% might be the budget that you go out to hang out with your friends, right? You don't want to lose that. You know, like 20% you might think, oh, that's only 20%. No, this is 20% means like you go with your
also
friends.
With a lot of these people save maybe Milo.
Right.
We're not talking millions and millions of dollars. We're talking average income.
Yeah,
maybe even less.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. So like for an average income person, like 20% pay cut, that's hard. It's hard.
It's like making $20 an hour and all of a sudden they take $2 off.
Yeah, exactly.
No, $4.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot. $20 an hour to $16 an hour. People would be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. So if anyone wants to be like a political YouTuber, have some savings first. You don't want to be
invest in Bitcoin.
Yeah, invest in Bitcoin. You don't want to be pulled around by your audience too much. You got to say fuck you to your audience time to time.
Comedy's somewhat similar. Like not that I'm a big deal, but I have a bit of an audience. And so I get people who are like, yeah, fucking, you know what you should do is you should say this about social justice warriors and this about leftists and point this problem out with and I'm like, no, man, I'm a comic. I'm not using it as a platform. Yeah. It's not a fucking soapbox.
I'm not your activist.
No, I don't. I'll make fun of you too.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit,
yeah.
Right? I like. Because a lot of right-leaning people tend to like my shit because I'm politically incorrect.
Yeah.
And a lot of left-leaning people like my shit because I do charities or fundraising and I'm in recovery and I'm ex-convict and all this kind of stuff, right? So then I had a hard life. But anyway, I'm neither nor. So I get kind of both, but they both sometimes like okay. So the right tells me I should fight for free speech and like. Put the left down and point out all flaws in the feminism using stats. Fuck off, man. God. But then the left says, you know, you have a platform where you could be saying things that are much more useful and benefit. And I'm like, fuck off, man. Yeah, so I get it from both sides. And that's just a very small amount of people, right? So I can just imagine once you have thousands and thousands of people, holy fuck, man. Well, it would drive you insane, maybe. I don't know.
These people, like, you guys just gotta tell them to fuck off.
Yeah. And back to what you're saying, which will require by necessity alienate some of your audience sometimes.
Right.
There's no way around it. Right?
But here's the thing: there needs to be. I feel like the audience thing. It's good to have a revolving door.
Absolutely. So
that your audiences can grow with. You can grow with your audiences, and the audiences can grow with you. Because you know, like if a lot of people who are kind of like who are opposed to new ideas, they're going to jump around from YouTube channels from YouTube channel to YouTube channel, because there's always going to be one time they're going to disagree with their favorite YouTube star, and they're going to be, I'm so offended, I'm unsubscribed, and then they kind of, so like these people, you really don't need to care about them. They're kind of like little nomads that you can just send them away once in a while, and they might come back or they might not. But you know what? You don't need to care about them. That's like I said, it's just a few assholes, really.
It's always a few assholes. You mentioned something, or you didn't mention it, but I thought of it. So you heard about this comedy show in Toronto?
Yes.
That got basically shut down because
Yes.
it was late. It was tight. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but anyway, in the description, it was called a free speech comedy show. And Danny Polishuk
Yes.
was the guy who organized it and all
Yes.
that kind of stuff. So you've heard
Yes.
about that. And
Yes.
what did that? It sounds like because of that, you've decided to do some things to mobilize
Yes.
yourself.
Yes, Mark. Yes, I organized the comedy show. It's on March 31st.
For sure.
Yes.
I know you had
yes.
to jump around with the dates.
Yes,
but,
because of Just for Laughs, kind of
the festival.
they kind of cucked us really hard.
Yeah.
So we kind of like ran away with the tails between our legs.
You can have the black guy. Just make sure you cook dinner when you get home.
Can I have the black guy?
Yeah.
So it's with, I think you're opening,
right?
I think, or you're closing.
Whatever.
I haven't decided that yet,
Okay.
and I don't know how that works. This is the first comedy show I organized. And Danny
what you do
Polishuk-
is you give me all the money.
Yes. Oh, is that how it works?
And I don't even have to show up. That's how.
Yes. Just send me your e-interact, and we'll get it done.
All right.
So it's you, Danny Polishuk, and Morris Bartlett.
Right.
And Morris is very cool.
Yeah.
Morris is very cool. You know Morris.
We have an episode in the can.
Oh.
It hasn't been released yet, but
he's
he's in the queue.
Oh, I see. No, he's great, and so it's gonna be really fun.
Cool. So the 31st, I better put it in my calendar.
Rickshaw.
Yeah, the rickshaw. Do you have a name for it yet?
Nope.
No
clue. I don't know how comedy shows work. I don't know how.
The thing, like I've told you, and I don't want to get too off track with this shit, but if you guys have your sort of built-in audience already, so you're already ahead of the game.
Right.
The hard part usually with comedy is how do you get people to show up?
Right.
So you have a hook
Right.
because of the theme. Also, you have Danny, who you could just say is this is what happened. Boom, people will want to pay attention to it right off the bat. And you have your built. You have a group with how many members of the Free Speech Club?
1,300 right now.
So many.
Yeah,
Right? Now,
right.
all of them won't show up.
Oh, of
obviously,
course,
probably
of course.
not even 10%.
Right,
But if you can, if you can get 10%, so 100 people,
dude, that would be great.
Yeah. And then I know people who will go just because of it. If you just post it on social media a little bit, you'll get people going.
Right.
The problem with most comedy shows is there's no unless the comedian on the show is famous. What's gonna motivate me to go? Right? It's comedy. Yeah, everyone likes comedy, but how is it gonna get my attention?
Right.
More than sitting at home.
Right.
No one wants to leave their house. That's
sitting at home is awesome.
Sitting at home is great. The biggest challenge in anything, any kind of entertainment promotion is how do you overcome their desire to sit at home?
This is why it was so hard for me to find a venue, because I want booze to be there.
Absolutely.
Booze is absolutely necessary, and it's the only reason why I ever leave the house.
Yeah.
It's to pay the bills and to pay for booze. So that's why I chose Rickshaw, because Rickshaw has an alcohol license.
Oh yes, they do.
Oh yeah. I'm so excited for that.
It's gonna be great.
I can't wait to get drunk and watch comedy. That's all I want to do.
That'll be great.
It's just, I just hope the ticket sells.
I can confidently say, okay, here's what I can confidently say. You're not going to lose money.
Okay, we'll see.
I don't know if you'll make money, but you won't lose money.
We'll see.
You'll break even at the very least. Right?
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Because
I can. I'm not an expert in much, and I'm not even an expert in this, but I know a couple things about this. And my show, Comedy Shocker, I've never lost money on it.
Oh, really?
I've never lost money on it.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
it's a show that shouldn't exist in Vancouver. When I first started it, people told me that'll never work here. People don't like that here. I was like, fuck off. I know they do, right? Like I didn't even know you, and I
Right.
knew you.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So when people say, "Oh no, we don't like that kind of comedy in Vancouver," I'm like, yeah. 2% of the population doesn't like. It's the same percent on the internet that seems like they control the internet.
Well, here's the thing: if you have 2% of the population like your show,
that's a lot.
That's better.
Most people I know when it comes to comedy. Now, again, this is just one guy with who knows what my sample population is, but when I tell them about like my like if they've never seen me and I tell them about jokes and I tell them about some of the problems I have, to go, really? It's comedy though.
Yeah.
That's what they say. And I'm not even saying they would find me funny or not, but they don't understand how, like, what? It's comedy. What do you mean people get offended and, like, try and shut down shows? And
exactly.
What are you talking about? That to the average person, that doesn't make any logical sense to them. Because they're like, if you don't like it, don't go. Or leave in the middle of the show if it bothers you, right?
Like, there's a problem in a kingdom when the king decides to kill his jester. Right. Like, like that kingdom is fucked. That's it. There's no coming back from that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see. When it comes to free speech, for me, I'm an advocate for free speech because it's basically, I'm just echoing things you said. It's like it's easier to protect than to gain back once it's lost. And I also know that just watching stuff in the media, how certain things are signed. Like I'll bring up something with someone and they've never heard. I'll bring up a statistic. Here's one. This is for our listeners. You can Google this. Super easy. Very pertinent and relevant and local. 85% of the people who died of opioid overdoses in BC were males.
Huh.
Funny how the media isn't really saying anything about that.
Yeah.
85%.
Yeah.
And so to bring statistics like that up often. Well, okay, so you got the first layer. How come you didn't even know that? Right? So that's not being reported. Yeah. I can take a couple guesses why they don't mention that.
Right.
Some of it practical because maybe I can see from a one perspective is if you do want to get the story out, maybe don't start talking about gender because it'll convolute it and it'll turn into arguments and stuff like that. So that I can see. Okay, but leaving that issue aside, if 85% of a certain population or if a bunch of people are suffering from a disease, for example, let's say HIV. Right. So back in the 80s and 90s, it was a certain demographics. Like, so why wouldn't certain measures be taken or like, okay, why is it 85%? And why we need men, you need to know this, that you're more likely to die, but they don't say that. Right. So then what that tells me is that if 85% of a certain population are dying in the hundreds, and people don't know about that, and I feel a bit of anxiety even saying it, something's wrong. Yeah. To share a fact. Yeah. A fact that you can Google in 3 seconds, and I'm a bit nervous. I'm like, when I'm about to say it, not to you, but to someone else, I'm like, is this going to turn into a fucking argument? Or am I going to be accused of mansplaining or something like that? That's bad, man.
It is bad.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? The funny thing that I just realized is that how instinctive it is for us to know, even if we don't have statistics or like some kind of scientific method measurement of anything, we instinctively know what we can or cannot say in polite society.
It's called social calibration.
Social calibration, is that what it is?
That's what it's called.
We're so good at it, and we're so instinctive with it that maybe free speech is more about how much a society lets an individual be controlled by social calibration. That's one of the things that I really like about the Western cultures, is because social calibration is the least of your problems here. It's not like you're in Korea. It's not like you're in China. It's not like you're in Japan, where you have to follow social calibration. If you step out of line, you're dead to us. So, and I feel like if we lose free speech in the West, the world is fucked. where social, because free speech is always like social calibration turning into law. That's how free speech gets killed. And that happens in Korea. That happens in China. Like Korea, like porn is illegal. You can't produce porn. You can't watch porn. In fact, when I used to work for criminal investigations in Korea in the military, and it was so tragic. We had to process a guy's arrest and a fine because one of his friends kind of ratted him out. He didn't like him. He said, "Hey, policeman, this guy has porn on his laptop. Could you arrest him?" And of course, the policeman doesn't want to do it, right? He goes home and jerks off too. And he's like, "Fuck, man. You know what? I guess I have to do this." He does it, and we bring the guy over. He's so ashamed of himself. Poor guy, man. Like he's like, he looks 35 or something, and he's really ashamed of himself. He's wearing his little glasses, and he's like a big guy, but he looks so small. And I thought, like, man, poor guy. And everyone had pity for him, and we tried to give him the smallest slap on the wrist possible. But then he still got publicly shamed, right? And
which is the worst punishment.
Is the worst kind of punishment. And
speaking as an ex-convict, it's actually the hardest part about getting out, doing time in prison is the getting out part. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the world changes. There's the stigma that goes along with it. Like, you can't get a job, all this shit, right? So that's why so many guys go back to prison, because they're like, I can't handle it out here, right? And I get even though it's a smaller scale to a certain degree, but I get.
Do you mind if I have a smoke?
Can't smoke. Well, tell you what, I think we've come to a good conclusion anyway. So then. Oh, okay. But we're at about that amount of time. So what I ask all my guests.
Yes.
The same question. So for the average person, man on the street or woman or person on the street, what would you like them to know? What would you like to say? Closing thoughts.
The average person on the street.
Yeah, remember, they're not necessarily politically minded one way or the other. They're just living their life. What would you like them to know? This is totally open-ended to you. You can say whatever you want.
Whatever you're having a hard time with, know that it's temporary. And I believe that you can do the thing that you want to do. And I wish you all the luck.
Typical cis male.
I know.
Thank you very much, Louis. Always a pleasure seeing you. I don't see you very much, and I appreciate having you as a guest. Thank you for coming.
No problem.